Okay, my name is Sigafoose and I'm from Aberdeen, Maryland. I was raised in Baltimore and lived in Florida for about 22 years and decided to head back, and sort of like a chicken coming home to roost, so here I are. Now, I've been a chiropractor for 50 years, however I'm only 45, so I started early. And all my life I have dedicated myself to the principles of chiropractic, to what really makes chiropractic work, the essence of chiropractic. And so we've had a multitude of people because the definite, if you have the consciousness of who you are and what you are, then you attract a multitude of kinds of people, kinds of things. And we had a tendency to attract a lot of cancer people and people with degenerative diseases of one kind or another. And one in particular, man came up who was a printer from a little town called Westminster, Maryland. And he drove about 45 miles one way. And he had to stop about every 10 minutes to run into the bathroom. And so he knew all the gas stations. There's my mother calling me again. Mom, I told you don't call me. You just won't let me alone, I tell you. Hello. Yes? What?
Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
What? Who are you? Who are you? No, this isn't. This is his father. Yes, okay. They were asking for me.
That's the most interesting way to
I'll turn it off. Yes, I will turn it off.
This is how you put the fun back in funeral.
Mother, she's always calling me, I'm telling you. Okay, here we go. Should we start again?
we can just jump into your story if you like.
Well, let's do that. You can edit it, right?
Yes. And just whenever you... Are you going to sit like that, or are you going to sit back up?
I'm going to sit, but I'm trying to put something in my pocket.
You've never tried to put a cell phone in your pants.
Not pants like these.
Right.
There's a spray on jeans.
I could have had a bad back or something, couldn't I?
Whenever you're ready.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to get ready now after all this, but I'll try. Okay, let's go. So where do I start? From the guy coming up from Westminster? Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, there was a young man he was a printer who come up out of a town of Westminster, Maryland, drove about 45 miles one way, stopping about every 10 minutes to run into either a restaurant or a filling station to pass mucus and blood. And as he went into our office, or came into the office, he was pale and drawn, and he advised me that he has lost 68 pounds, and that he has had this problem now for 18 months. And he's been in the hospital, and they want him to live off of mush and baby food. And so he wanted to know if there was anything we could do. Well, my answer to him was, if we can find out where life is being shut off and we can turn it back on, then I'll move the bone and God will do the healing. And he said, that sounds like something I would like to do. I said, at the same time, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm not going to discuss what you should eat or shouldn't eat, but I'm going to suggest that you don't eat baby food or mush. I'm going to suggest that you eat coconut. He said, coconut? I have a bleeding ulcerative colon, and I eat coconut. God, what's that going to do to me? I said, it's going to scrub it. So you'll end up, at first, it may irritate it somewhat, but it'll clear. So he came in, and in the fourth visit, he had his first bowel movement, formed bowel movement in about 18 months. So as we worked with him and continue to work with him, he began to have proper sleep. He began to gain his weight back, and he ultimately gained all of his weight back and didn't have to stop any time between Westminster and our office again. But it took us about 8 to 9 months for him to completely heal up. Now, how did that happen? The way these things happen, multitudes of people think that chiropractic is simply for cricks, backaches, and strains. I consider that a byproduct. It's certainly not a reason. The reason to have somebody adjusted or be adjusted is to turn on this thing called life. So when we have maximum innate intelligence expressing itself through matter, whatever is going on in that body, it has the potential to heal itself through replication. by replicating normal cells versus abnormal cells over a prolonged period of time. So the interesting thing about chiropractic is that rather than treat symptoms, which is what people think it is, or treat conditions, which is another thing that people think it is, it's to simply correct the subluxation and maintain that correction long enough for the body to rebuild itself from above down inside out. So as a result, this young man is now continues to go to my daughter for care, and he will probably a lifetime and will be a lifetime chiropractic person. Not because he has crics, backaches, and strains, not because he has ulcerative colitis, but because he realizes that the best thing for him to do is to maintain the integrity of the nervous system so he can function the way he's supposed to function. That's the end of that story.
Sounds wonderful. Do you have another one?
I got plenty. Kind you want now? What? I'll tell you about a little guy named Timmy. Timmy came to us from another little town called Hanover, Pennsylvania, and he had just had his battery of so-called inoculations, his DPT shots. And he was fine before that, but right after, within 24 hours after that, his mother noticed that he was unable to move as well as he could. And he kept getting worse and worse and worse, and ultimately he began to develop rheumatoid arthritis in an 18-month-old child. And as he came in, he barely walking like an old man, bent over, and his little hands are all crooked. And we brought him in, and we started to adjust him. And she said, well, what about his diet? I said, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not into nutrition. I'm a chiropractor. I'm going to do something that's necessary, which is to adjust the spine. I'll send you to a great nutritionist, a naturalist, who will teach you how to utilize raw foods and grains and so on that will help this child. So that's what we did. We continued to work with Timmy, and he, in a matter of about 8 months, he started to walk quite normally, was functioning just like any other child. And the only difference that he had was a slight gait problem where he sort of drug his right foot. But within a year's time, even that